Yeah, they're gonna have to go around the outside.
Up. Commence fire.
Any questions? No, they're just making the rifles safe, just clearing them out. All right, welcome to Fort Delaware. My name is Captain George Washington All. My name is Bill Purdy. I'm the lead historical interpreter here. What we're going to do is we're going to kind of give you a demonstration on what it takes for a soldier to learn how to fire these. Before we do this, give you a little understanding about the technology that happened prior to the Civil War. Before the Civil War, you had the Revolutionary War and the War of 1812. That period there, the technology back then was what we call a musket, a smoothbore musket. It shot a round ball like this out of the smooth bore. What I mean by smooth bore, it's just like a hollow pipe inside. When it came out, it wobbled. Because it wobbled, it was very inaccurate. It had a maximum range of maybe 50 yards, 100 yards at the most if you had a real good aimer. Well, prior to the Civil War, around 1842, technology changed. The smooth bores, because it was so inaccurate, armies fought in Europe what we call Napoleonic tactics. Napoleonic tactics where you have two armies line up across from each other in two ranks like this, as far as the eye could see, and shoot each other. Because the technology was terrible. You were lucky if you would hit the target. So they lined up by the thousands, shooting each other, and hoped to hit something, and whoever's left standing wins. Basic, but that's how it worked. Tactics were a little different, but that's about all. Now, 1842 comes around, and they make some changes, some inventions. First invention is, if I can borrow your... This is a 58 caliber Springfield rifle. The first improvement was inside the barrel. They went with 3 grooves pressed inside. Additionally, they did away with the tray that was on the old flintlocks, where they would be carrying a flask of powder that they would pour onto the tray, close the tray cover, bring the rifle down, pour powder down here. This is how they fought in the Revolutionary War and the War of 1812. The next invention that came along was this. This is a percussion cap filled with fulminate of mercury. It's put onto the cone of the musket rifle. Where the trigger's pulled, hammer hits the cone, put the cap on it, sends a flame down into the breech, next powder pushes the projectile out. That was a couple invention changes. Now, the other invention was the actual projectile. They went from a round ball, get it out of the pocket, round ball to a called a Minet ball. It was invented by a major for the French Army, Major Minet. We know it as a mini ball. It's a bullet. It has ridges on it. When the rifle is fired, these ridges catch in the grooves. So no longer does it come out tumbling like this, it comes out spinning. Kind of like how we throw a football. It goes straight to the target. Because of that, it not only increased the accuracy, it increased the velocity and distance. So it goes from 50 to 100 yards of accuracy, close to accuracy, to 700 to 800 yards of accuracy. So now you have two armies standing across from each other, shooting each other, and they're hitting each other. That's why you had such the high casualties during the Civil War. Now, in order to learn how to fire one of these, they had to go through what we call School of the Soldiers. School of the Soldiers, where they learned how to handle these rifles. It was basic training or boot camp as we know it in the Marine Corps or the United States Army. You've got to learn how to fire one of these things. Now, as I showed you the Springfield, this here is the basic rifle of the United States Army. The 58 caliber, rifled inside. That's the rifling that goes down to the barrel. Percussion cap, the new rifle. That was the basic weapon of the United States Army. They expected the war to go about 90 days. Well, we know it went a lot longer. The problem was U.S. Army didn't have enough rifles to go 4 years. They needed a lot more soldiers for a lot longer time. So, Springfield could not manufacture enough rifles. So we had to go somewhere to get more rifles. Where we went was England. This is a Enfield 57 caliber. Same thing as the 58. Just as deadly, just as accurate. The problem was that England sold them to the Confederacy also. So they had the same rifle, just as deadly and accurate. So we were shooting each other on both sides very accurately. Okay, now, Captain here is going to take them through a process called load by the 9 times. This was a drill that taught the soldiers how to fire it properly, because one misstep in the process would render that rifle useless. And of course that soldier is now useless. So we're going to demonstrate that process. Anytime.
Attention company.
And I'll describe what
Shoulder, arms. I'll just run them through the manual.
That's fine.
This is called the Manual of Arms, different positions for the rifles during carrying, standing, or marching. Attention company. This is shoulder arms.
And
Right shoulder shift.
Is warm. Something like this, these things turn into like 110 degrees inside.
Shoulder,
And this is what they wore during the time of the year. This was their uniform.
Right shoulder support,
This method was an easier way to carry the
shoulder,
rifle. 12 pounds after you're carrying it 20 miles. It turns into like carrying a cannon.
order, First Sergeant, have the men go through the process of loading in 9 times. Simulate first, and then we'll do it for real.
To be in the United States Army, you had to have a certain qualification. That qualification was